Welcome to BizTV's Beyond the Brand. I'm Kelli Phillips. Chris Whittington is in studio with me today. Chris is a singer-songwriter, worship leader, and Steel executive. He'll talk about how those very different vocations intersect in his life and his faith. Stick around. We'll be back with more of BizTV's Beyond the Brand. Overcoming a childhood of poverty, our next guest has become an influential figure in the contemporary Christian music scene, sharing stages with renowned artists. Please welcome Chris Whittington to the show. And Chris, first, before we get started into your singing, I want to get started on just your background, where you grew up, kind of what life was like for you.
Well, thank you very much, Kelli, and your crack staff for having me today. I really appreciate this opportunity. Very kind of y'all. I grew up at a very early age. It's a terrible old joke. In Houston, Texas, I was born. St. Joseph's Hospital. A lot of people know that hospital still, right there at downtown. I had 5 siblings. My parents seemed like kind of a typical, well-adjusted family. They moved us to when I was very young, to a house in the suburbs at that time, close to Pasadena, South Houston, across the street from the a Roman Catholic parochial school that we were all attending at the time. I was an altar boy. Summers were spent running around and playing army and riding our bikes and drinking water from the
water hose.
The hose, exactly. We didn't know it tasted nasty. It was pretty idyllic. And then at one point I was maybe about 10, and my parents moved us to Friendswood, an even further out suburb from Houston, very fashionable to move out there. And I was at some point, not real long after, that it was discovered that my father was in a relationship with his secretary, very cliched. And that was the beginning of the end of my parents' marriage. My father essentially abandoned us when I was 11. There was no money for anything. We were plunged into an overnight deep, deep poverty. My 2 oldest siblings were basically on their own or close enough to go on and depart and be on their own. So that left 4 of us at this little tiny frame house with no heat and no AC and a bathroom with a sliding piece of sheet plywood. And hey, we had what we needed. I got a job. I got after school and weekend jobs, cleaning toilets at local daycare centers, and was buying my own clothes and a lot of my own food at that point. I resented it.
Did you?
I did. I want to be honest with you. I was very unhappy and had some very bad thoughts about wanting to end my life. And yet the living God always had his hand on me, and I knew that.
Did you grow up in the church?
I did in the Catholic Church. As I mentioned, I was an altar boy. Loved doing that. In second grade, the priest used to come to my second grade classroom and pull me out to go read the Stations of the Cross for the high schoolers, because none of them cared anything about it, and I loved it and was passionate about it. I loved doing it. It just was so meaningful to me. The liturgy of the Mass, I've never lost my love for those things.
Is that what kind of drew you into what you are doing today? Is that where it began?
It is. It very much is. I've had a relationship, most of us have, with God from a very early age, and knew who he was, and knew that, and I did get from the church and from classes, catechism classes that I was fortunate enough to take at that time. I did get a basic understanding of the nature of reality as God had created it, and Yeah, that's where it started and set me off in a very good way.
But you didn't end up as a minister, so to speak.
I did not. It's funny you say that. In fifth grade, the year before we moved out to Friendswood, it was my last year at the Roman Catholic school, several of the teachers would ask my parents, he's going into the ministry, right? Into the priesthood, right? Yeah, I mean, it was a given.
Did you think about it?
I did, and I wanted to, and then we moved. I thought I wanted to, as much as you can at that fairly young age, but we moved and everything changed, and we stopped going to church, and it wasn't like say. My memory's a little fuzzy. Maybe a year at the most, 2, I think, after that change. That all the bad stuff happened. So those thoughts kind of were lost.
And what did you end up doing with your life?
Well, I've worked for others. I've started my own business in 2004, Whittington Steel in Houston, Texas. I have been, long before that, I have been a worship leader in small and large churches in and around Houston. I mean, since I was 16, 17. And, I know I don't look a day over 30.
No, you don't. I was thinking 29.
Very, very kind and funny. So I've been doing that a long, long time. And to answer your earlier question, that obviously is kind of how a lot of my early love and understanding of God has found its way. I've been able to execute on that by being in ministry for all those years.
So how does Whittington Steel dovetail into ministry? Does it?
It does, Kelly. Thank you for asking. I think it does, and I think it should. I think it's our responsibility as Christians to take the mandates given to us in the book of Genesis to rule over and take care of God's creation. Very much a part of that is to take care of and love our fellow image bearers, of which every person alive is one, no more or less than me. Mm-hmm. That requires me to love them and care for them to the best of my ability. This side of the fall of man, thank you, Adam and Eve. A great friend of mine, Kemper Crabb, his dad, Kemper Crabb Sr., you may or may not know him. He was a missionary in Nepal and India and some of the darkest places on earth. Mother Teresa promoted him for the Nobel Peace Prize. I think it was 4 different times. But Kemper's dad used to say, boy, when I get to heaven, the first thing I'm going to do is find that Adam and punch him in the chops. And I think a lot of us feel that way. But, of course, the dirty little secret is we can, in our own sin, continue that brokenness that has happened, that was initiated at the fall of man with Adam and Eve, but we continue in it, in which the world is broken. So what's the deal? Do we just hunker down and wait for death? Wait for the rapture?
I hope not.
Well, good for you, because that's not our responsibility, right? You understand that.
Yeah.
It's to take care of God's creation. That includes our fellow image bearers. So to get to your real question, at Whittington Steel, I got a couple of scriptures that are guiding scriptures for me in the business. One of them, the first one is Matthew 6:33. You know this one. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. And also there's Psalm 112, verse 5. It is well with the man who deals generously and lends, who conducts his affairs with justice. That means it's my responsibility as the guy holding the purse strings to take care of our people to the best of my ability. I like money as much as anyone I know, but it can't be the thing. It can't be the one and only thing. Whittington Steel does not exist so that Chris can buy boats and houses. There's nothing wrong with those things, and I'd like to have them, and maybe one day I will. But you know what's more important, Kelly? Helping our people buy a home, their first home. helping our people buy a vehicle when they've gotten in deep trouble with their credit, giving our people godly, biblical relationship advice on how to find the right person to marry, how to remain in their marriage, how to raise their children in a godly way. Those things are the things that I think about every day and every night. I am a sinner. It's not popular. A lot of Christians, especially evangelicals, we don't care to be reminded of that, but we are still sinners.
Absolutely.
We are redeemed sinners by God through the work of and finished gospel of Jesus Christ, but we do still sin. My point is, I make plenty of mistakes, but the goals are righteous. The goals are to honor God in everything I say and do. The family-like community that we've developed at Whittington Steel, I told you this earlier, I asked God many years ago after working for other people, some good, some bad, God, please let me start a business one day and create a culture where I would want to work. And I've gotten to do that, not by myself, but with these 15 other individuals that I am privileged to call my family and friends who I work with every day.
Now, Chris,
and I love them to death.
We need to take a break, but I do want to continue our conversation, so will you stick around for a little bit?
I'd love to.
All right, we'll be right back with more. And we're back with Chris Whittington, and we were talking about Whittington Steel and how you have accomplished treating your employees as family. Tell us a little bit more about your employees.
Thank you for asking. I love these people. My wife and I have grown to love them. They come into our home. They help us with things in our home that we need help on. We help them. I mentioned we've helped them buy homes and vehicles, etc. But we really have sought to create a family-like environment. And we're multi-ethnic and diverse, and all those terms that are hip and cool to use these days. Look, I don't care about it. I hope that doesn't offend anyone. You know what I care about? People. I don't care about how much melatonin is or isn't in your skin and my skin.
It doesn't matter.
I don't care. Exactly. You are a fellow image bearer, as am I, of the living God. That means we're responsible to take care of one another. And that's what we really try to do at Whittington Steel.
Now, in addition to Whittington Steel, you're also into music. Where did that love come from?
Music is like air to me, Kelly.
You've got to have it.
Yeah, I have to. Since I was very, very little and got my first transistor AM radio, and we hear the Trogs and the Beatles and the Stones. And
now, do you write in addition to singing?
I do write in addition to and arrange. I work with I've made 2 albums, 2 projects, music projects with my friend Kemper Crabb, who I mentioned earlier, who was a very early CCM artist, along with Phil Kagi and Larry Norman, and he knew all of them and worked with them. So I'm very privileged to get to work with him. He's hugely talented. But we write together. I do write on my own as well. We've made 2 projects together. The first album is called Bright Portal. And the second one, the newest one that we released late last year, is called Realatorium.
Realatorium.
What does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean?
Realatorium is the cosmos. It is all of God's creation. It's, God says that he mediates knowledge of himself through his creation. And that's a fancy word. God teaches us who he is, shows us who he is, if we just pay attention to what he's made, to the world that he's made all around us. We'll know him that way. We'll know his generosity. We'll know his justice. We'll know his love and kindness by observing his world all day, every day. So it's there for us if we'll open our eyes to him who has eyes to see. So that's what Realatorium is, the cosmos of God's creation. Everything is folded into that.
Can you tell us about some of the songs?
Well, yes. On Realatorium, there is Psalm 139. It's actually the first song that I ever wrote 30 years ago that I thought was good enough. I'd written many songs. It was the first one I thought was good enough to be released and recorded at this level that we're at, which is a fairly high level. So I'm real proud of it. It has Phil Keaggy. Phil Keaggy's all over this album, Realitorium. Some of the most, I'm biased, but some of the most brilliant stuff he's ever played. In mine and Kemper's opinion, Phil is the greatest living guitarist. Clapton, anybody. I love Slash. Phil Keaggy. And trust me, they know him, and he's on their radar. So we're very fortunate to get to work with Phil. Our current single has the happy, memorable little title, God Will Supply All Our Needs. It's from directly lifted from the book of Luke. The birds of the air, consider the birds of the air, the flowers of the field, lilies of the field. God takes care of them. So does he take care of you if you'll trust him and watch him in his time give you all that you need, supply all that we need. And that's it's number one in Europe right now, or in Great Britain and South Africa and a couple of the Nordics.
I was about to ask, where can people hear your music?
Well, thank you. It's Chris Whittington on Spotify, on iTunes, on Apple, on Amazon, pretty much everywhere that music's streamed.
Do you go out and do performances?
I have not. Kemper and I, along with several of our friends, did do a PBS special a number of years ago that garnered 200 million viewings. It's of medieval Christmas music that you can still see and watch on YouTube. Look up Kemper Crab and Medieval Christmas, and you'll see me singing lead parts on several of those. I do play at church. I continue to work in the church every single Sunday. Matter of fact, I schlep out from my home in Friendswood to Katy, about an hour drive. I'm not, whatever, right? Big deal. But I do that every week. I guess I'm trying to prove my commitment to the church, whatever that means. Maybe somebody will be impressed by that. But
it means something to you to do that, though.
It does, Kelly. And I continue to do that every week. Two Sundays a year I take off to go with my family to our beloved hill country of Texas and enjoy the weather. Matter of fact, I'm going this weekend.
I was about to say wildflower season.
You see, I know, and I bet they're out.
I bet they are, or it will be soon.
And you know a lot about that.
A lot.
With you and your husband's background in your TV show,
yes.
which I'm going to miss greatly.
Oh, well, thank you.
I am.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
But not about me. We're talking about you here. What do you want people to take away when they hear your music?
That the living God is for them, that he loves them, that he cares for them. It may not always feel like that or happen in the timing that they wish, or the answers come as they wish and how they wish and when they wish. But rest assured, he is always for you. And as the scripture says, if God is for us, then none can be against us. That can sound like an empty rhetoric, an empty cliche. And for some people who are not believers, I imagine it is. But for those of us who are and have spent years of our life practicing this and training ourselves to know and to learn and to get the Word of God into our hearts and minds, we know it's true. And I've had plenty of diversity in my life. I've had business deals go south with good friends who I thought were good friends. I've been through some stuff. Everyone has.
I'm no different.
I have been broken and nearly broke a couple times, and that's okay. God never failed me, Kelly. In all of that, he never did, and he never will. And that's what I hope people will listen to my music and take away.
What's next for you?
What's next for me? I hope Kemper and I are able to produce more music together. He's got a couple of projects to follow up on his eponymous album from 1983, The Vigil, which he has pockets of fans all over the world who have been waiting for the follow-up. Lord willing, that's about to happen. I should be part of that. I hope to be. He'll have me work on that with him. But, I'm still writing, excited about continuing to make art that hopefully glorifies the living God. And so, we run our little business and do our best through thick and thin, ups and downs, to trust God with it all and know that we can do that.
What's the response from your employees with what you're doing and how you are running Whittington Steel?
Thank you. Much of the time, it's really positive. It's not all of the time. I don't want to blow sunshine up anyone's posterior. It's not always great. On occasion, I even have to let someone go, which is very uncomfortable. And I usually lose sleep and a lot of tears over that. That doesn't make me anything. It just means I'm...
Have a heart?
Okay.
A soul?
We'll go with it. Well, I hope so, yeah. But, I've been let go before. Again, the challenge for that employee is God at work in my life still, or has he abandoned me? The answer is, of course, emphatically no. But our feelings don't always tell us that that's the truth, do they?
No.
And so we need to train ourselves to not. Feelings are great, but don't let them lead you. They come after. Do the right thing, they'll catch up, right? Mm-hmm. We know that. Those of us who have lived a couple more years.
Beyond 29, yes.
Beyond 29, that's right. Not a day over. But, it is hard to do that. But what is the response? We've had several people leave for more money and come back because they got out there and realized that the imperfect, loving people at Whittington Steel treat me way better than anyone else.
And that's got to feel good.
Yeah, it does.
Chris, again, real quickly, folks want to find you and your music. Where can they go? ChrisWhittington.com, ChrisWhittington.com. I'm sure everybody caught that. I think so. Chris, thanks so much for taking time.
Thank you for having me. It was lovely to be with y'all today, and you're very generous and kind to have me. Thank you, Kelli.
Thank you. And we'll be right back right after this. Thanks for watching BizTV's Beyond the Brand. Be sure to subscribe to the BizTV YouTube channel, where you'll find full episodes of this show, a 24/7 live stream, fresh BizTV content, and a few surprises each week to help you stay inspired.